Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. I eagerly wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books secrets of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken and uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I do implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, and that I was scarce sure that I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word that was spoken was the whispered word "Lenore." This I whispered, and echo muttered back the word "Lenore," merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what threat this is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Here I opened, I flung the shutter, when with a many flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven in the saintly days of yore. Not the least obscenes made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mien of lord and lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust of the palace above my chamber door, perched and sat, nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum on the countenance it wore, through the crest and shorn be shaven. "Thou," I said, "art sure no craven?" Ghastly grin an ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. "Tell me what the lordly name and the ninth plumage shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, through its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we could not help agreeing that no living being ever yet was blessed with seeing the bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such a name is Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the pallid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled by this stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is only stock and store, caught for some unhappy master, who unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster than his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope and melancholy burden bore of nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then the velvet sinking, I betook myself into thinking on fancy and of fancy, thinking this ominous bird of yore, what this grin, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, with no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, with the lamplit lowered o'er, whose velvet violet lining with the lamplit glowing over. She shall press, nevermore. Then that methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim, whose footfall fails tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, by the angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nephite from the memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nephite, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," said I, "thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert island enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the Raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden it shall clasp a Satan maiden, who the angels named Lenore, clasp a quiet and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the Raven, Nevermore. Be that our word of sign imparting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get back to the tempest and the nice plumage shore, leave no black plum as a token of thy soul late spoken, leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take the beak from out thy heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the Raven, Nevermore. And the Raven, never flitting, still sitting on the pallid bust of the palace just above my chamber door, and his eyes of all the seeming of a demon that is dreaming, and the lamplit glared over him, streaming through his shadows on the floor. My soul, from the shadow that lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore.